Every NFL player wants the same thing, and that's to win a Super Bowl. But being in the top 5 or 10 at a player's specific position isn't bad either. One of the most competitive positions in football, if not the most competitive position in football, is the wide receiver position. Only 10 players can finish in the top 10 in receiving yards in 2020, and that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. What's crazy about how competitive this position is there was just 67 yards separating Jarvis Landry, who finished 10th in receiving yards in 2019, and Michael Gallup, who finished 20th in receiving yards in 2019. Keenan Allen finished 6th in the NFL in receiving yards in 2019, and only he had just 92 more than Gallup, who, as we said, finished 20th. The receivers in today's video are who I think finish in the top 10 in receiving yards in the upcoming season. The receivers will be in a general location of where I think they finish, and there will be a couple of big names left off that we'll address at the end of the video. Also, there will be no running backs or tight ends in this video, and it will be strictly receivers. Chances are Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle will both be in the top 10 by season's end, but for the sake of this video, it's receivers only. But before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. We start today's video off in Atlanta with one of, if not the best receiver in football in Julio Jones. In the past 6 years, Julio has over 9,300 receiving yards and averages over 100 yards per game. His total of 1,394 yards in 2019 was his lowest since 2014. Julio's last 6 seasons, he's averaged per 16 games 108 catches and over 1,600 yards. That's absolutely insane, as Calvin Johnson, who we all think of as one of the best of our generation, during his best 6-year span, averaged over 100 less yards per season than Julio currently does. I am very confident that Julio, assuming both he and Matt Ryan stay healthy in 2020, finishes in the top 10 in receiving yards in 2020. He's a Hall of Fame player, and had he not got injured in his first and third year in the league, he would have over 1,000 yards in every year of his career. This is a no-brainer pick for this list. Staying in the same division for the next player, and it's another obvious one. He led the league in catches and yards last year, and it's Saints receiver Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas set a record last year with 149 receptions and had over 1,700 receiving yards. He has over 3,100 yards in the last 2 seasons and finished in the top 6 in both years. He is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game throwing the ball, and even when Drew was hurt last year, Mike showed he could still be productive on his way to a historic season in 2019. In the past 2 years, he's averaged over 8.5 catches per game and over 97 yards receiving per game. If he stays healthy, I am very confident both him and Julio finish in the top 10 in receiving yards in 2020, along with the next player, and that of course is Cardinals receiver DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins in the past 3 seasons has averaged 105 catches, 1,370 yards, and 10 touchdowns per season. He is without a doubt a top 5 receiver in the NFL and will have a solid quarterback throwing him the ball in Kyler Murray. He has 2 1,500-yard seasons to his name and 3 100-catch seasons to his name as well. Hopkins is by every definition a number 1 wide receiver, and he, like Julio and Mike, should be a lock for this list. Although he finished 11th in 2019 and missed it by a mere spot, he played in 15 of the 16 games and missed the top 10 by just 9 yards. I think everyone can agree had DeAndre played the game he missed, he would have had more than 9 yards. But back to the 2020 season, I expect Kyler to lean on DeAndre a lot this upcoming year, and for him to put up very similar numbers in the desert as he did in Houston. Kyler is a young quarterback and will be comfortable early with how good of a player DeAndre is, and that alone should get Hopkins a lot of receiving targets. I will be shocked if he doesn't finish in the top 10 in receiving yards in 2020, due in large part to this. Hopkins has the perfect recipe for a great season, with the young quarterback looking to lean on him already being a dominant player, and in a very friendly system for him to thrive in. Next, we go to Kansas City and the Super Bowl champion Chiefs to discuss Tyreek Hill. In 2018, Hill had over 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns on the way to a 5,000-yard 50-touchdown season by his quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Hill played in 12 games in 2019 and racked up over 850 yards receiving and was a huge part during their Super Bowl run. Assuming both he and Pat stay healthy for the entire season, and that's for everyone in this video as well, by the way, there's no reason Tyreek can't get back back to the player he was in 2018. Hill had over 100 yards in the Super Bowl, and he receives a lot of targets despite being in the very loaded Kansas City offense. He had 16 targets in the Super Bowl and even had a game in 2019 where he was targeted 19 times. Hill is a very good receiver, and him and Patrick are one of the best quarterback-wide receiver combos in the NFL, and if both are healthy, then Tyreek should finish in the top 10 in 2020. Next, we go to Green Bay to discuss Davante Adams. Adams was a great receiver in the 12 games he played in 2019 and finished just shy of his second straight 1,000-yard season. He has received over 120 targets in 3 of the past 4 years and will be receiving a lot of targets again in 2020. If he can stay healthy, he will surely make the list, as in 2018 he had over 110 catches, over 1,380 yards, and 13 receiving touchdowns. Davante is one of the best receivers in the NFL, and if everything goes the way it should, he will finish in the top 10 in receiving yards and notch his second 1,000-yard season. Adams has two 997-yard seasons in his career and only one 1,000-yard year. He should get back in the top 10 in 2020 and hopefully for his team's sake win back-to-back division titles. We now head to Buffalo for the next player, and it is new Bill Stefon Diggs. Believe it or not, Stefon Diggs has never finished in the top 10 in receiving yards in his career, but that can certainly change in 2020. In 2019, he had just 94 targets, which is significantly less compared to the Bills' leading receiver in 2019, John Brown. Brown had 115 targets and hauled in just 72 receptions. A lot of that can be attributed to Josh Allen's accuracy, but to be fair to Josh, he's never had a receiver of Diggs' caliber. Diggs, for the first time in his career, will be the undisputed number 1 wide receiver on his team, and you can bet the Bills will want to get him the football. With Diggs as the number 1 option, it's not unreasonable to think he can have 100 catches, 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns in his first season in Buffalo. The Bills sacrificed a lot to acquire him this offseason, and we'll see if it was worth it in 2020. Next is another former Terrapin like Diggs, and it's Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore. DJ finished 9th in receiving in 2019 with Kyle Allen throwing to him for the majority of the season. While Teddy Bridgewater is no Patrick Mahomes, he is certainly an upgrade above Kyle Allen, and Moore should continue to dominate the way he did in 2019. DJ had a very good second season in the NFL after a solid rookie year, and it should continue with both natural progression and improved quarterback play in year 3. He is one of the most underrated players in the NFL, and will probably be that way for a while if the Panthers don't make division title runs and the spotlight on their team gets taken by Christian McCaffrey. By the way, that's no shot at Christian McCaffrey. He's an MVP candidate and the spotlight should get taken by him. It's just a statement that DJ is underrated. DJ is a great receiver and should finish in the top 10 for the second time in 3 years to start his career. Staying in the NFC South, and now we go to Tampa and Mike Evans. Mike is a great receiver and has dominated for 6 straight seasons with subpar quarterback play. He now will have the GOAT throwing the ball in Tom Brady. Evans went for 1,500 yards in 2018 and 1,100 last year with Jameis tossing him the pigskin. Evans has quietly put together a Hall of Fame caliber career if he stays healthy and should finish in the top 10 this year. I did not include his teammate Chris Godwin in today's video, however. We now move to the Motor City to discuss Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay is another underrated wide receiver, and he quietly had a very good 2019. He finished 7th in receiving yards and led the league in receiving touchdowns, while down the final stretch of the season had David Blau throwing him the ball. Kenny will get Matt Stafford back, and Stafford is a very good quarterback. If Golladay can produce with Blau, then he can most certainly produce with Stafford, and at 26 turning 27 during the season, I fully expect Golladay to have a 1,200-yard, 8-touchdown season if he stays healthy. He is a very good player and one of the best-kept secrets in the entire NFL. The final player to round out the top 10 in today's video is the Cowboys' own Amari Cooper. This has a lot to do with quarterback Dak Prescott needing an extension, and having said this, Dak will be doing everything he can to feed Amari and the other guys the ball as much as he can. In 2019, Amari finished 8th in the NFL with nearly 1,200 receiving yards, and I don't expect that to change in 2020. Yes, he will have Gallup and rookie CeeDee Lamb as teammates, but he had Gallup and Randall Cobb last year and still produced what he did. Amari is a good receiver and Dak is a great quarterback, and these two together are not surprisingly a very good duo. Now to address the players that did not make the cut. Keenan Allen was great in 2019, but with a new quarterback and the lack of time to get a chemistry down due to COVID, I don't think he makes it in 2020. Adam Thielen will be healthy this year, and we're under the assumption all the players in this video will be healthy this year, but I don't think he'll receive the targets in the Vikings offense that he did in 2018. Juju very well could finish in the top 10 this year, but I simply did not choose him for this video. Courtland Sutton has a lot of players in his offense, and I simply think it's too crowded for him to be in the top 10 in receiving yards this year, with him, Fant, Judy, and KJ Hamler, and the running backs. Now that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video, it helps a ton, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Skol Vikes.